So we saw a movie today.
No, we didn't.
Today we saw Logan, which was directed by James Mangold and stars Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Daphne Keane. Rachey, what did you think of Logan?
I loved it.
Yeah, it was really good.
There's so much fighting, and that is like, I loved it. And they had all the Wolverine frenzy poses.
The Berserker.
Yeah.
Like right in the beginning, he was getting his ass kicked, but then he goes Berserker. It was like the third thing I wrote down.
It felt like I was excited, like Jay and Silent Bob and Mallrats.
Yeah,
like that's how I felt.
Snicked.
Yeah.
He's doing his Berserker, right? Yeah, that scene exactly. We felt like Mallrats in the '90s. That was definitely a spectacular movie. Very riveting. Except for it did drop twice.
What?
Like I was completely hooked, except for two parts where I got kind of bored. The dinner with the farmers, that got kind of boring, and then when he was sleeping for 2 days, that was just like, because I mean, dinner with the farmer, they were showing you plumbing.
Yeah, but they can't just have all like
interesting things.
Yeah, they have to have that break where you can see that Professor X is like, you know, he gets his little, because he's never gotten to have that life. He's never gotten to have that life.
No.
He's never gotten to sit down and have corn. And it shows the dynamic between Logan and Laura of they're similar, yet there's like small differences, and he's kind of showing his like dad side.
Yeah, he's definitely, that's about the part where he learns to start caring for her. But just, that was when I yawned. That's my point.
Oops.
Great, now the whole video is shaky as hell. But other than that, like every second of it, I was fixated on the screen. So, why don't you go ahead and tell me what the movie was about, in case I wasn't paying attention.
So the movie is about trying to get Laura to Eden, which Logan is obviously like, it's in a comic book, you guys are idiots. And it's like Zombieland, where they're trying to get to this place where they know it's not really what it is. But then it turns out to be really what it is, because there's all those kids, and it was like egg on his face.
You are miraculously worse at this than I am.
I am.
Okay, so in the beginning...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Logan is a sad, depressed limo driver in El Paso, Texas. I don't know how long he's been doing this for, which the timeline, as Fox X-Men movies do, doesn't make any sense. Because, I mean, this movie takes place in 2029. That means the 25 years since the last mutant birth was 2004. And the X-Men movie that came out in 2000 was set in the not-too-distant future. So that only gives it about 3 years before mutants start seriously dropping off. You see what I'm saying? They should have put it farther into the future.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But they did a really good job making it look like 2029. It's exactly how I remember it.
I was confused with the semi-trucks.
Yeah.
Until I realized it was the future. I was like, why are there just boxes like
I literally wrote down, where's the engine on it? Until I finally got a good look at it, and you can see there's like a little compartment in the front that could be the engine, but it's a very small engine for what it's doing. So they must have some real efficient engines in 2029.
When that guy slid into the car, what's his name? Donald. I thought
he had a name?
Yeah.
I was calling him the Cyborg.
Donald. I thought that he was gonna be like Gambit, and I'm like, I was like, no.
Well, I knew he was gonna be
Logan obviously knows Gambit, so they can't be like, who the fuck are you? But
could you imagine if that's how they were gonna set up Gambit? Just,
I was like,
squeeze him into this.
I was like, what are they doing? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah, that was intense.
Because the red eyeglasses, and then the accent. But it wasn't really
he had a southern
Texas.
It wasn't like Cajun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what'd you think of Patrick Stewart?
Brilliant.
Yeah, he was great. Like, he was nailing the low, sad points of his dementia, but then just turning around with some real unexpected humor. Like, he was the powerhouse of humor in this movie, which he's never gotten the chance to do, really.
It's brilliant. Like, I like how it's, like, they're bringing funny into like every aspect of it. Like
Well,
Logan's
because
a
it
smart
succeeded
ass.
so well with Marvel.
Patrick Stewart was smart ass.
Yeah.
The little girl was even funny.
Well, especially when she started talking.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. Patrick Stewart's death was incredibly jarring.
Yeah.
Like I thought he was talking to Logan, but I did notice that Logan was all obscured in darkness.
Shaved.
And I was like, why are we...
I noticed his hair was gone. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he stabbed him. And I was
like,
devastated.
I was like, oh, it must not be Logan. I was like, I must have seen the guy's face wrong.
But
no.
Like, and didn't... I was honestly hoping to go into this movie and crying for the first time in any kind of superhero movie. But I never got there.
I almost cried when
I kind of, when Patrick Stewart died, I knew in my heart that, yeah, that makes sense. He doesn't want to do Professor X anymore. He's a 90-year-old man. That's what they do. But then when Wolverine died, I still couldn't cry. Like, I was trying. But I shouldn't have to try.
You shouldn't. I don't think they wanted you to cry.
Well,
maybe they did.
I think they did. I think some people would have. I didn't. Wasn't too happy about that.
You don't have a heart.
I have a simulacrum that does the same thing that a heart does.
Yeah, you do.
Let's talk about Daphne Keane. Some guy at work tried to convince me that she was Hugh Jackman's daughter. And I was like, no. If that were even remotely true, I would know way ahead of time. And they're not going to resort to nepotism in the seminal Wolverine film, the one that's supposed to like not make it a joke. But I thought she was fantastic. I thought she was cute when she wasn't talking, but then when she started talking, it was like, holy shit. I have run out of ways of describing that.
It was cool because
and then she was vicious.
She's like a kid, but she's also a killer. But
yeah.
She wanted to ride the pony ride. She liked the iPod.
Yeah, it was like why I like Chloe Grace Moretz in Kick-Ass, because she was a kid who was a psychotic murderer, and it's not necessarily entirely unheard of.
We love psychotic children.
We just like psychotic children. That's why she's raising one.
Quite well.
And it's justify the means, right?
What you gotta do?
But yeah, like in her fight scenes, there was definitely a lot of CGI into it. Like I noticed it when she was climbing on top of the limo, but they managed to get enough of it on a wire that it looked phenomenal. I didn't know that a little girl actor could do that kind of action. Never seen that.
Oh, you're a chauvinist.
I've never seen like a little boy actor do that. If it was a little boy, I'd be saying the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Don't point that shit out on the internet.
I know. I can't even think of any little boy actors.
But the thing is, in the comics, X-23 is a much older woman, and I really like how they scaled her age back, because like when I was reading the comic, they had a pretty interesting arc about her and a couple of other Wolverine clones that were exactly like her, but slight differences. But then after that, she was hanging out and dating Angel. I was like, I don't want to read about that. So I would much rather this socially awkward 11-year-old like 11 and that one show that everyone
Stranger
likes.
Things.
Yeah. Did you notice that Xavier killed all the X-Men?
Yeah.
Yeah, like on the radio broadcast, she was like, that resulted in the deaths of several, and then it was cut off. And then my brain pieced in the rest of it. Because I'm a smart person. But in the comic, Wolverine killed all the X-Men. For whatever reason. I didn't read the comic. I don't have that kind of time on my hands. I'm trying to read The Runaways before that Hulu show starts, and I have not gotten more than like 4 pages in a year.
I almost wasn't listening to what you were saying.
That's understandable. Here's my biggest problem with this movie, was the X-24 villain. Because in Wolverine Origins, they already had Wolverine fight a guy who was exactly like Wolverine, Sabretooth. And it was done a lot better by Liev Schreiber, because I didn't have to look at the same guy CGI fighting himself.
But Sabretooth and X-24 are different.
because Sabretooth doesn't have adamantium.
Yes.
That's the only difference. Deadpool had like a little vignette in the beginning, and there was no end scenes. So we're wondering if end scenes are going to start coming at the beginning of movies, kind of like how trailers used to be at the end of movies. Now they're at the beginning, and credits used to be at the beginning of movies. Now they're at the end. I'm wondering if this is going to start some kind of new trend. That would make it more convenient for me because I like to get out of the theater as fast as possible.
But I never show up on time, so.
You did today.
Fluke.
Well, okay, you're 2 minutes later than I wanted you to be.
I flew here.
Yeah. Back to the X-24 thing. Like at the time, I thought that the whole farmers thing could be cut out because it just felt like a way of having two Wolverines. And then like as I was continuing, I was like, okay, that's kind of clever because now there's the mistaken identity of which Wolverine it is, and then he slaughters all those other guys. But it basically ends up as everyone's dead except for 3 Wolverines. One of them is only 11. The other one is probably pretty heavily retarded. He never talked. He just flipped out.
I think he was
constantly.
more of a primal.
Yeah, it was like they didn't want to bother raising him, so they're just like, make a full size body and just give it rage, and that'll compensate for all the Wolverine training. Yeah. But that they couldn't have set that bullet up anymore. Man, that was by the end of it, I was like, finally.
I'm like, just do it already.
I mean, there was a part where Wolverine or Logan actually grabbed a gun. I was like, oh well, he's just gonna load it in there, but no, because X-23 had it. So. Laura. I loved her Spanish. That was probably like the happiest I've been. I was in that movie.
It's pretty refreshing not to hear somebody speak English.
Yeah, especially a little girl. I don't.
And they're all raised in a Mexican facility.
Yeah.
So it would make sense for all of them to speak Spanish because the people practically raising them were all Mexican nurses.
Yeah, and then they had to learn English because the doctors were Americans, the people in charge. Definitely a really good movie. It was fairly quick in the beginning. It got the plot off like immediately. It couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 minutes when they were shouting Wolverine at him in the funeral.
I prefer that though.
Yeah, I enjoyed getting that going quickly, but by the end of it, they really could have sped that ending.
I'm glad that the albino guy took the right.
Yeah, Caliban. Oh, I wanted to talk about Stephen Merchant. Thank you for reminding me because I love Stephen Merchant. And it was so awesome to see him in this movie, and then they got to use him so much because his accent is very unique. Like, I mean, here in America, because nobody who talks like that gets on TV. If he hadn't had his background with The Office, I would never have heard of him, and I wouldn't have the glory that Stephen Merchant's voice is.
I have no idea who he is.
He was on the Ricky Gervais show. He had a very small role in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, something else obscure British from the mid-2000s, and then he did something big that kind of like gave me something to show people and be like, this is Stephen Merchant, this is who I'm talking about.
He kind of looks like you.
But he talks like this. Hello, I'm Stephen Merchant. Big Bang Theory, he was trying to date Amy, but he was such a fan of Sheldon's that he screwed it up.
I didn't watch the show.
Understandable. It's not a good show. At least not for nerds. Mr. Peter Ian Staker. Piss taker. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you got it.
Now I got it.
Now she gets it. I was disappointed that his grenade didn't actually kill Donald.
It should have.
I
don't think people understand how big of an impact grenades.
Yeah, we didn't need that cyborg to live past that point. He wasn't much help after the Dr. Rice showed up.
So. No, but it was nice to see the kids get their revenge.
Yeah, that's true. Because Logan made real short work of Dr. Rice, Xander Rice. Which his name sounds familiar, but I don't remember any kind of comic reference that it might be referring to. So this definitely gets a bunch of big thumbs up from us. That's the wrong hand. Okay. And if you haven't already seen it, go see it. If you have already seen it, watch this and leave a comment yelling at me about my opinions.
But don't yell at me because I'm a woman and that would make you sexist.
And also, she'll never find out.
True story.
She doesn't watch the videos.
Single one.